What is your definition of power? And they talk about having 22s on their cars, big gold chains. But power is knowledge.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast, where we this year alone are, and I'm getting excited about next year, Dr. Franklin, just as I keep going, through this. But we're interviewing 100 Black men this year, and the response has been so overwhelming that I think we're going to have to do another 100 next year, just because I'm finding when you think about success leaving clues, right? And I'm in my little bubble here in Denver, Colorado. And, I have lots of folks that I talk to here. But as I open this up nationwide and as we start talking to people from all over the country, I'm realizing there are so many successful Black men who are doing their thing. They're doing it right. They're helping others. We have some themes that are coming out. And it's just so exciting because when I think of success, sometimes we think of success as, oh, that actor or that athlete or that, musician, because they have so many people who are singing their songs or watching their movies or watching their games. But what I realize is the everyday heroes are those dads that are out there, those husbands that are out there, those community leaders that are out there. One of the themes that we really get to talk about, what I'm excited about talking to you today, is just this thing called fatherhood. And what does it mean to be a dad? And all the stories we continue to hear about how there's so many Black fathers who haven't taken responsibility. And what I'm finding is there's hundreds and thousands and millions probably of Black fathers who are taking responsibilities, who are doing all they can, who are making sure that they're raising their kids, even in cases where they didn't have fathers, and figuring it out right now, which makes it really cool. So I can't wait to talk to you about that. But what I'm finding, and as I'm interviewing the everyday person, I'm realizing that this other theme is people want to see people who look like us, and so that is what I'm starting to show and starting to see is that is a bigger deal than I even thought it was. It was for me. It was, oh man, yeah, I want to be a professor. I want to be a doctor. I want to be this or that. And so, but who else came before me that can show me the pathway and the way? And it was a big deal for me to see it and continue to see it. But I didn't realize how prevalent it was in our community that for everybody else it is. So I can't wait for you guys to hear from Dr. Franklin Malone today, CEO of the 100 Fathers Inc. We're going to talk about that a lot, but I want him to start with his story. I want him to start with what allowed you to become the man that you are. Part of the journey to freedom is helping us become the people we need to be in order to do what God put us on this earth to do. And so you're doing it, you're walking in it. We just started like before the show. I asked him a couple questions, and the stuff he was giving me was so profound. I said, "Stop! We're gonna put this on record so he can start talking." So, Dr. Franklin, go ahead and take it over. I can't wait to hear your story.
First of all, Brian, I'm just honored to be a part of what you're doing, because what you're doing is what's necessary for fathers, men, boys, and families. My name is Dr. Franklin Malone. I am the chairman of the national group called Black Men Working Together. I'm a part of a group with one of the bishops that has 400 churches called the Million Fathers Project. I am in DC the godfather of the DMV. My group takes fatherhood very seriously. If you look in the Bible, it says, study to show thyself approved. You cannot make this up. God put us here for a reason, but we have to follow the script, the blueprint that God gave us.
Mm,
And we have to teach others who may not know the blueprint, who are trying to do it the best way they can. I
mm,
am a certified master fatherhood trainer. I have trained men all over the nation. 100 Fathers is responsible for a group called My Brother's Keeper
mhm,
that I gave to the former President Barack Obama. I didn't get a dime out of that, but I did it from the heart. But if God gives you a vision and a purpose and you use it wisely, He gives you other things to add to it. And yes, I did get a chance to personally speak with President Barack Obama. He did call me. Very funny story. I was one of my, I'll get into my story later. One of my greatest chairman of the board was Judge Arthur Burnett Sr. Judge Burnett and a guy named Dwayne Meeks out of Colorado, who heads up the Colorado Fatherhood Coalition, wrote a book. And but the judge was my chairman of the board. And we went out to California and did a conference together on fatherhood. And we got a call from the White House after that conference. That conference was with the group that I'm a part of called the Fathers and Families Coalition of America, which I'm going to invite you to be a part of, Brian, after we finish this podcast. But I got a call from Barack Obama, and my kids were in the car. Let me tell you what kind of father I am. First of all, I have a daughter who is a CEO like me, who lives in Aurora, Colorado. She ain't nothing but the truth. Her name is Falana. Well, I married her mother and we eventually got divorced. After that, I kept my relationship with my daughter. I had another lady I ran into that captured my heart named Rhonda. Rhonda said, well, if you marry me, you're going to have to adopt these two children. I'm like, what? My mother said, you have lost your mind. You can have any woman you want. Why would you adopt some more children? You already got a child. You, you've just lost your bonkers. But I was in love with this woman, and I married this woman. We've been married for 25 years, and she is one of my executive advisors for the 100 Fathers and a great mother. But so I'm a father of one daughter by marriage. Then I married her. She had a daughter when I married her, and she hated my guts. Right now, Ebony calls me dad. We love each other very much. Then I adopted Marion and Shanita, the twins, who are now 25 years old. So I have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. But the 100 Fathers story lives on through my father, Franklin Alexander Malone. My father was no joke. When they buried my father in 96, the preacher preached on love. There were people who came to honor him from all races, creeds, and colors because fatherhood is an international language spoken by all men to their families and children. So I was raised by a father who was intentional about teaching me what I needed to know to be a great father. So my fatherhood was passed down as legacy. Then I studied under Dr. Jeffrey Johnson of the National Partnership for Community Leadership. I studied under James Rodriguez, Fathers and Families Coalition of America, and God has given me a gift of writing 25 white papers, 3 books, and I'm partnered with Howard University, Bowie State, George Washington University, University of Maryland. So this fatherhood thing is big time. I'm currently the assistant dean at a school called Gatsu Overday Seminary and University. It's a relatively new HBCU. I'm the assistant dean of fatherhood, and we touch 50 countries with our uh, challenge to fathers all over the world. That's not all we do at that university, led by Diane Eubanks. But I just want you to know this fatherhood thing is bigger than you ever thought it would be. There's a saying. It says a father is neither a sail to take you there, nor an anchor to hold you back, but always a guiding light whose love shows you the way. That's
Wow.
how we bring it. So we're bringing fatherhood from the heart, the soul. The guys, I have a team that works under me. I've trained them. Matter of fact, we
Mhm.
have several contracts. We got one contract with the state of Maryland where we do 10 counties training fathers. We have one in DC at Friendship Schools. And tomorrow I was supposed to be at this class with them, but I cannot be there. But these guys are so well trained, so active in fatherhood. They're gonna go take over and
Mhm.
just enlighten these young men. We have 15 young men we're training under the Youth Leadership Academy. So I
Mhm.
have so much to share with you, Brian. I don't know where to start. Here's how I got into the fatherhood movement.
Mhm.
I I had lost my job, gotten sick, was looking for a job, and I was a probation officer for 20 years. I left that agency and tried to go out on my own, but nobody wants to pay a consultant. You know, if you're a consultant, you better have some money because a lot of people don't pay you. Then what are you going to do? So I ended up applying for a job at the Alexandria Redevelopment and Housing Authority. I can't. They chose me over everybody else to lead the Family Resource Learning Center. At the Family Resource Learning Center, I came in there with a couple of guys, knowing the legacy of fatherhood, and a bunch of children. And these children were fatherless. And we showed these children love, connection, engagement, and enlightenment. And what these children did for us was they scored the highest on the standard of learning exams in the city of Alexandria. I got grants from McDonald's, recognition from the governor, recognition from the school. School said, well, how did you do it? How did you get these children from public housing to score the highest than anybody else? Fatherly love. These children were fatherless. They needed a man in their life to show them love, connection. There's something we teach in fatherhood called the five love languages of fatherhood. Let me share that with you now. First of
Love it.
all,
Love it.
it's quality time.
Yep.
Dad, you can't fake it. You gotta make it and you gotta do it. We spell love Time.
Hmm.
Number two, receiving gifts. You got to give those children something. I'm not saying you got to go out and spend 50 of $100, but you got to give that child something. You could give a child uh, a dandelion and they would love it just because dad gave it to me. But it's
Mm-hmm.
called receiving gifts. You
Yeah.
must give. Then there are positive words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, when you affirm your child, it makes them grow. Then, number four, acts of service. You got to do something. You got to show something. You have to be the middle of leadership for your family. And then finally, personal touch. Says in the Bible, fathers, love your children. Not only love them, hug them, hold them, let them know that you're there with them. Those are the 5 love languages of fatherhood. It don't cost you nothing.
Oh man, and so glad, just to kind of interrupt your story a little bit. Just I have 8 children and I have 16 grandkids now,
Please,
so I'm loving my life with my kids. But I've taught these love language so many times, and what's amazing is that when I think of my children, they
oh,
span the gamut of these. Is which love language do they like the most? So I have this daughter who amazing young woman, and her love language is gifts, right? So if I try to go and just give her a gift card, oh no, that's not going to work. You have to pick the gift. You have to. It
that's
has to be specific when you. But how it recipiates as a dad. I have another daughter who's words of affirmation, so I can call her every week and just say, "Hey, you're amazing. You're wonderful. I love what you're doing. I'm proud of you." Oh my gosh, the way that she lights up and the way that she moves forward and the way that she does stuff. I have a son who's acts of service, right? So I know when we're together, if I do stuff, bring stuff, but it took
right.
time, right? Like you said, it's spelled Time. It took time for me to figure out which each child's love language is and how to communicate with them. Now, obviously, you do all 5 with them as much as you can, but there's a specific one that they
I
love to
agree.
be communicated
It,
with.
it
And it's so
connects with
neat that
them.
you brought that up because it just reminds me, man, I have, just my own kid, but the other people, I can tell somebody's love language, once you've met with a young man or a young woman that maybe doesn't have, you could tell probably within 5 minutes what their love language is. And if you begin to
Yes.
communicate with them. So thank you for bringing that up. It brought joy to my heart.
I
So I'll
wanna
let
I
you
wanna
speak.
start from the beginning because
Okay.
that's where we start.
Mhm.
I'm going to take you to another level in fatherhood, hopefully. I have a paper out. I'm a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We have 200,000 men. Our uh, our mandate is to bring fatherhood across the nation. I happen to be the speaker this year for fatherhood to the 13th district, and I brought to them a new ideology which God has given to me called the 21st century father and man. Who is that? Who is that 21st century father and man? What is attributes? How does he act? How does he speak? What does he do? That paper is published now, and we're sharing it. I'm putting the book together, it's already written. But within the confines of that, God gave me the vision of the 12 commandments of fatherhood according to the word of God. So I don't know how much and what we have time for, but I want you to know I came prepared to share as much as I can with you, Brian, and to give these men and women who are listening a chance to understand the importance of the father in the family, because we can't be left out anymore. Matter of fact, I wrote a play called The Fatherhood Chronicles. Fathers have been silenced no more, where men are telling their stories. I get calls from all over the nation from men trying to see their children having trouble with child support, having trouble with visitation. Let me tell you what we did in Maryland. We connected with the Maryland General Assembly. Um, I happen to have received in 2023 the designation from the Maryland General Assembly as a living legend in fatherhood. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because we helped to, to get some legislation passed called the Child Custody Relocation Act. And that act prevents a father from losing touch with his children when he's paying child support, doing everything he's supposed to do. There's no reason why the other parent should just up and leave him holding the bag without his children. So we help to influence with Representative Nick Charles and signed by the governor this law, which mediates when a father and a mother trying to move to another jurisdiction. How do those children get to remain in contact with the love of a father? Because, let me tell you about the love of a father.
So important.
80% of those locked up are fatherless. 80% of
Mm,
those dropping out of school are fatherless. Almost 85% of those who are incarcerated are fatherless. So, how do you change that?
mm,
You change
yeah.
it by bringing fathers into the life, teaching fatherhood, showing men. We have a video, which I can't share with you right now. I had a program working with 27 young men who had all been locked up. They put them in a special program. So we said, well, listen, are any of these young men fathers? How many of y'all are fathers? Out of 27, 24 were fathers. We came into the room with these guys. When I say we, I mean my team of trained fatherhood facilitators. They were cussing, arguing, just off the hook. We said, is this the way you talk around your children? Because this is what your children are going to be as a result of what they see in you. You've got to change. So we taught Fatherhood 101. And I'm going to tell you something. We don't mentor, we transform lives. If you could touch a father's heart, his mind, and his soul, you could transform him into something beautiful for his children. But it goes back to what it says in the Bible. You got to study something to teach something. What you know may not be enough. That's why we have the certified master trainers who study different ways to reach the heart and soul of men. And so I'm bringing that out because I was on the radio with a guy and he's a PhD from somewhere. He said, well, I'm going to go back and write up a program. No, you're not going to write up a program. You need evidence based information that can change a life. You
Yes.
need evaluation. You need to have the full realm of what can help you to change a man's life.
Yes. Wow.
So
I love
I
it. I
just
love
want to
it.
share.
No,
Now,
this is making such a difference. And yeah, take as much time as you want to share with because it is
let me
so
let me give you
vitally
this.
important. Yes.
We have a new we have been using a new understanding of violence. And so there's a lot of violent young men in the inner city. They're shooting each other. Why is that? Dr. Amos Wilson, one of the foremost uh, psychologists on black men, wrote the book Black on Black Crime. And in the book, he talks about a phenomenon that I want to introduce you to right now. You can go online to my website, www.100fathers.org. Make a generous contribution and then use some of our information to help you. But I want to introduce you to something you haven't heard about yet. It's called reactionary masculinity syndrome. What is that? That is a young man's futile attempt to assert himself in a negative way that feeds directly into the pipeline to prison and the system of racial oppression, discrimination, resulting in incarceration, death, and destruction. Now, there are 5 areas that you have to be understanding of to help to change this dynamic. First, when we walk in a room with young men, it's manhood. What is a man? And when we go into these schools, these guys got all kinds of stories about what a man is. You a man when you can go drink. You a man when you can get a job. You a man. None of that. Then we talk about respect. Who do you respect? And once we find that out, we go to power. What is your definition of power? And they talk about having 22s on their cars, big gold chains, but power is knowledge. We have to teach that. Then the next is fatherhood. Have you had a father in your life? Do you know what fatherhood is? Do you understand the dynamics of fatherhood? Now, if we can teach those 4 things to a young man, we can avoid the last, which is racial oppression. Because if a young man goes through life not understanding manhood, not understanding the power of respect, not understanding power itself, or not understanding the gift of fatherhood, they will end up in prison, they will end up incarcerated, or 6 feet under. It's called reactionary masculinity syndrome. We teach that. It unleashes a new understanding in life from a fatherhood point of view. Why? Because many of these young men are in fact fatherless. You can't make that up. Like I told one of my facilitators, there's a lot of people out here trying to fake it, but for God's sake, we gotta make it. We gotta make it real, so that people understand the power of fatherhood and what it can do to a young man. Here's how it has to be applied: love, connection, engagement, enlightenment brings empowerment. Love is first. Don't step in that room trying to teach somebody something and you don't love them. You got to have some love. We go into the inner city schools. We ask the principal, give us the young men who's giving you a problem. By the time we get finished with them, we give them a rite of passage, an introduction to a new understanding of what manhood is. How do you respect women? Respect your mother. What's it say in the Bible? It says, respect your father, love thy father and thy mother, and thy days will be lengthened. That's how you live a long life, out of that respect. So I want to share some of these things because these are the things we teach all over the United States. Matter of fact, I got a call from the state of Missouri last week. We made a presentation of the 21st century father and man, and they wanted me to give it to them to be able to train some other people. But in order to train other people, you got to know the pillars like you have, Brian. You got to know the foundational principles of what all of this means so that it can be applied properly in the lives of those that's being shared. So that'll give you my story. So my story, I was raised by Franklin Malone. My
Okay.
father didn't, he was, he was, he was a veteran. He didn't play that stuff. He meant what he said. He said what he meant. Um, I went to Eureka College undergraduate. I told somebody, yeah, I went to that school to get away from my dad. My father said, no, son, I sent you to that school. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? While I was there, while I was at Eureka, I became the president of my class. This is a Republican school, y'all. This is a school of Ronald Reagan. I became the chairman of the president of the debate team. I also earned a full scholarship to Texas Christian or Vanderbilt, but I refused to go because I know the truth about Jesus of Nazareth. I know the truth about the Borgias, who, under the Pope, made all the depictions of Christ one particular race when they came from a fishing city where dark-skinned people live. How could he go to Egypt and hide out if he was other than anything that looked like Egypt? So I'm just talking truth. Don't get mad at me. It's all in the Bible. You know, you got to be able to discern the truth, teach the truth, and live the truth. And it has to be lived by example. So I just want to share that with you. Um, I'm a minister. I work with the Brotherhood of St. Andrew Ministry. They're international. St. Andrew was the first disciple, but he was a black man like you and me. But he preached the word of God. I ain't preaching no hate. I'm just telling truth.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up. You know, discern the word of God. And I'm a chaplain under God's University and a
Okay.
master trainer. So um, the work we do is essential. It's essential to change the hearts, the minds of young men. We also work with a group called for Positive Change. How important it is and to be a part of a young man's life.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to help those single mothers raising sons.
Wow. Yeah.
You cannot teach a man to be a man. Let me tell you, I went to a school and we
Mm-hmm.
told a young man, we said, listen, why don't you act like a young man? He said, I will act like a young man when I see a man. If I see a man, I can be a man. Hello? By example. It's by
Wow.
example.
When I see a
So
man,
that's
I can be a man. Holy
on.
moly.
You can't teach somebody how to be a man. You got to show them. You have to lead them. How you speak, how you touch, how you address women. They need to be in a room with you to see how that goes down. That's how manhood is done. Okay. So
Wow.
what the man say? Say fatherhood is often sought. It cannot be caught. It has to be taught. Come on.
Wow. I love it. I have a couple questions because as you bring some of these things up, I looked up a statistic and it said 50% of incarcerated black men have minor children. So their
Yes.
dads are
Yes.
minor children. That's half of the black men that are incarcerated right now.
Yes.
what can we do? Because
So
when I think of being a dad, I mean, I can't imagine being locked up or being away from my kids or not being able to. I mean, it would have stopped me. It probably did stop me from committing crimes had I been part of that institution of what it means to be a dad. What are your thoughts on how we, some of the things that you're doing to make that statistic go away?
here's what it is. And I want you to be a part of this. That's why I got to get you out to California in April to the Fathers and Families Coalition of America
I'm
conference.
there. I'm there.
I just got a call from one of my guys. I got an army here on the streets of some young men who are just dynamic. Prince Ham, Chris, Thomas. They call Prince with the Peace Ham, and Chris Top Soldier Thomas. And they're doing it. They're picking up young men, trying to mentor them, going into the schools, speaking with them. Here's what they called me last week. They went to an institution called Cheltenham Prison. And the people said, we need you all to come in here and talk to these men because they have children. And when they get out, how will they fare with the mother, with the children, if they don't know what fatherhood is? Which is why it's so important to teach, to learn, and to know Fatherhood 101. That's what we do. We train fatherhood facilitators. We give them a curriculum. We help you to train other men to be better dads and fathers. That's what you got to do. But you can't fake it. You can't walk up in there faking like you going. I saw somebody, one of my advisors, Chris Beard. He's attending uh what's the name of that school in London. Anyway,
Oxford.
he's one of my advisors. Yeah, Oxford.
Okay.
And he's one of my advisors. But we helped to write, the National Fatherhood Initiative has a lot of information out there. I got about $5,000 in pamphlets and things that they gave me out of respect for the work we do. Chris helped to write. So I'm certified with some of that information, but the information I have is evidence based and much deeper. You know what I'm saying? So they're graduating guys based on a pamphlet they got from this organization. No, it's got to be much deeper than that. Like it says in the Bible, you yourself got to study to show thyself approved. Come on. You remember, it reminds me of that guy, Jim Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Jones posed as a Christian preacher, and took
Mm-hmm.
all these people to Guyana and made them drink the Kool-Aid and killed thousands of people because of the ignorance of the people
Yeah.
about what the word was supposed to be. Our
Mm-hmm.
leaders have to lead by example. There's a they put under my father when they buried him. It came out of Proverbs 20:7. It says, the righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. That didn't say whether he was Hebrew, Muslim, Indian, Sikh, or whatever. It said the righteous man. To
Mm-hmm.
be righteous means to live right, to walk right, to talk right. That's what we're looking for. So this is an international language we're speaking. We're not playing with it either. So, you know,
Man.
I, I, I'm doing training. I'm
Mm-hmm.
training facilitators, master trainers all throughout the year because people got to have the right information in order, but we're mentoring. I'm not mentoring, Brian. I'm teaching how to transform a life.
Oh man,
And in
yes,
order to
that's
do
good.
that, you got to go deep. You got to go deeper. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I had several guys tried to study under us, but they weren't showing up to get the information. I said, man, I'm not signing my name on that you're trained as a fatherhood facilitator. You got to get it so
Oh
that
my,
you can give it to somebody else. Come on.
oh my gosh. I'm
So
taking a
that's
group. Yeah, that's so awesome. I'm taking a group of black men to Alabama in the end of January, and I'm
I
going to try to
saw
do
that.
it every
I
quarter.
saw,
And they're community leaders because the same thing that you're talking about. I need them for 4 days. We're going to start out in Birmingham. We're going to do a tour. We're going to do some story where they're all dads. We're going to spend some time talking about who you are and then where you came from, and then we're gonna
mm,
go to Selma, and we're gonna go over the Pettus Bridge, and we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna do some of that march, and then we're gonna end at the Equal Justice Museum, the Bryan Stevenson Museum, and go through
see,
what the segregation and mass incarceration and the slave trade. And so when we walk out of there, now you come back because you've been there, right? I can now put you in transformational groups, and I
that's
can't wait to add the fatherhood part of it because now you can start training. But we need to get people away from their environment for a minute
that's
and then
right.
really see
That's right.
what they're getting ready to do. Because when I think about identity, and I want you to speak towards identity, the identity of a dad is different than the identity of just a black man.
Yes, it
There is
is.
something, and so can you kind of just talk about that a little bit? Because what I've been finding in these shows, and as I'm talking to dads, it's super important for our young men to have dads, but it's just as important for us to be able to be a dad, to be able to be a provider, to be able to be a protector. What does that identity do for us as black men when we are fathers and we get it?
That is everything. That's the
Mm,
most important part of the family. Not just being a man, but being a dad gives you duties and responsibilities. We call it, he has to be authentic, affirming. An authentic father is a real man. He don't have to have no massive degrees, no big education. He just got to be real about who he is. He's got to be authentic. He's got to be affirming. He's got to learn when he's in the room with his family, he has to speak affirming words, build them up. Because what comes out of your mouth, what they say, the tongue is the most dangerous member of the body. It can build you up and it can cut you down. Come on, Dad. That's how we
mm,
work with these guys that were locked up. I want to share with you what that identity is. I'm going to give you 12 of them. First, every father, according to Genesis, a father can't be a father without love.
mm,
You can be a man without love, but you cannot be a father without love.
yes.
Says, fathers, love thy children. Then he must command. He must have the prerogative, the specific authority, and deserve respect. Like these guys coming out of jail. You'll just come out and get respect. You have to be a father that deserves respect.
Mm,
Don't come telling somebody what to do if you
yeah.
haven't already lived up to what you're asking others. Then to instruct, he must impart knowledge to his children, teach them. He must guide and warn, lead them and direct them past what we call the pitfalls. You know, I remember one day I got in a fight in my neighborhood. Since then, we moved out of that neighborhood. I grew up in Southeast Washington. And I got in a fight with this guy and I beat him up. Boy, I looked like Muhammad Ali. Boy, I was doing the shuffle and everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was bragging about it. And my father had gotten word that something was going down in the neighborhood. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't tell me he knew, but my father was one of them kind of guys. He said, listen, I'm going out. Do not open this door for anybody. Do you hear me, Franklin? I said, yes, Dad. About half hour later, this guy named Phoebe came by. He was a friend of the guy who I beat up. He said, Frank, open it. Man, I heard you. Man, I heard you was Muhammad Ali, boy. He said, man, give me 5. And I opened the door to give him 5, and he knocked me slam out.
No, no, no. Oh my gosh.
My father had already told me, don't open the door. Huh? That's what I'm saying. This is what fathers do. We
Mhm.
see things, we know things. Warn me about the pitfalls. But if I can't take it, then I got to get what's coming to me. Huh,
Mhm.
I want to stop there. Then we got to train. We have to train our children. These young men, I got a school with 15 young men I'm working with. We're going to train them on manners, etiquette. You know what I'm saying? When you go out to dinner, how you supposed to look? How you supposed to talk? How you supposed to act? Come on. Then
Mhm.
also, father has to rebuke. How many times have I seen mama say, oh, it's okay? No, it's not okay. There has to be sharp disapproval to what is not right. So
Mhm.
that's 6 of them. That gives you the framework for the duties of a father. I'm gonna let y'all start for the rest. I got all
Oh,
of them.
have to look it up. I love it. I love it.
So but that's the background, and that's according to the word. So
Mhm.
you got to be able to discern the word and apply it. You know what I'm saying? And this ain't about black or white. This is about living right. Come on now. You see what I'm saying? That's
Mhm.
what this is about. And there are so many fathers who call me from all races that need help trying to see their children going to court. Let me tell you a story about Rashad Price.
Okay.
I've been knowing Rashad since he was 6 years old. When I came to the Family Resource Center, they said, Mr. Malone, you can't be the director unless you beat Rashad Price in chess. I'm like, what? They said, yes, you got to beat this young man in order for us to respect your leadership. Some kind of way, Brian, I beat him. And I have been mentoring him all throughout his life. Okay. He's a very successful young man. He bought a bus for my organization. Now that he's got married and got children. But here's the thing, he and his first wife got into an argument. She told him, she said, look, I'm seeing other men. He said, what? We're married. We have children. He punched a hole in the wall and left. She tried to get him to hit her, but he was too smart for that. Nevertheless, she called the police and accused him of domestic violence. When he found out, he turned himself in. My group, the 100 Fathers, my team, went to court to support him. So the judge is reading off the charges against him. And so you're going to end up doing 12 years for what you have done. So we asked one simple question in court, Brian. You know what that was? Where is the evidence? Brian, there was no evidence.
Wow. He was getting ready to get 12 years. No
Yep.
evidence.
And but how many others? How many others like him, you know what I'm saying, are
Mhm.
locked up now? So after we called them out, they told him to go see a counselor. If the counselor said he didn't have an anger problem, the case was dropped. And the case was dropped.
Wow.
This is why, this is the work we have to do. This is the work we got to educate our
Mhm.
young men and our fathers on how they have to hold the line, but they got to be the right person. You got to act right, talk right, walk right. You have to, because everything you do wrong will be held against you. And even if you don't do something wrong, they're going to try to pin that on you too.
Holy
Yep.
moly. Wow, what a story and what a testament to being able to get around men and show them what to do. What
It's
I just
very
want to ask you
important.
about your health. Like, how are you with all the things you're doing? And we know the average. What they say is our as black men are the average life expectancy is about 72 years old. What do you do
That's
to
our
make sure you stay healthy? Because you got a
that's
lot
our
going on.
Achilles heel.
Yes.
That's
So,
our Achilles heel. And it's funny you brought that up because I just was looking at TV and saw where some of my leaders were having health problems. But I had, when my birthday was Friday, Brian, and while I'm with my little 4-year-old granddaughter, my 2-year-old, and my family, I went out, Brian, out like a light. And they called the EMTs, and I didn't go with them, and I should have. But our health is the most important thing to black men because that is our Achilles heel. How can you be a father if you don't take care of your health? There is no fathering with no health. It ain't happening. And that happened to me last Friday. Friday. I'm 75. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
Yeah,
hmm
man. And I said, well, I'm rolling hard. I got the play, I got the programs, I got the teaching, I got the leadership. I had to cut back some of that. I have some younger guys I'm bringing up to take over so that I could teach them. But guess what? My health has to be number one. That's my message to all fathers. If you ain't been to the doctor lately, you're in trouble.
Yeah, we won't go to
Period.
the doctor. Why don't we go to the doctor? You find stuff. It's like we think we're Superman, invincible, or something like that. These are the
It's that machismo. That's machismo, and it
Mhm.
ain't working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
What
So
about
yeah,
mental
man.
health?
So mental health too. That's the same thing. Nobody is under more stress and pressure than black men, from discrimination, from lack of opportunities, from just lies, just from sitting on the bus and people looking at them, accusing them of something they ain't done nothing. That's stress and trauma. You know what I'm saying? And yes, we have to have an opportunity to blow off some steam. We're fighting here in the DMV for counseling services, for places where they can let off some steam and talk to somebody so that they can redirect, and be directed. That has to happen. That's a
So
big deal.
what you're saying is it's okay for a black man to go do some counseling and get some person to talk to and get some help. You say that's okay, right?
Got to, man. That's important. You got to talk to somebody so that you can make sure that you're all right.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're going to let you know, hey, you were right about this. I can't tell you how many counseling sessions that I've been to that they said, you know what, you're right about this. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but you got to go to find out. You got to go to find out. I'm gonna give you this. There's a saying that we use in fatherhood. Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. That's it.
Ooh, man, that's
That's it.
good. Become your
That's
destiny.
what we.
And when we think
That's
about
it.
our thoughts, we think about our thoughts. We can't think without words, right? We can do a whole lot of things, but we can't think without words. And those words that we say to ourselves ultimately end up being our destiny. And so
That's
it's
it.
so important to make sure that we our thoughts are if our thoughts start going down the wrong direction, and I think most of the time we know that they are, that we don't try to put that and personalize that and put that inside ourselves and hold that on. And I think there's a, what I'm finding is there's a new, I don't want to say it's a new black man, but there's a black man who's doing okay, a black man who's making pretty good money for his family, that's being a pretty good dad, that is being a pretty good citizen, that is, not your stereotypical black man that people outside think. But for some reason, that black man thinks that he's invincible, that he can do no wrong, that um, that whenever things come, he can't show that he's hurting. He can't show that those things
Yes.
are affecting him. That he's like that duck that's on the water that's just smoothly going across, but his feet are just like flying down from beneath, and he won't tell anybody, because he thinks he has to be
It's okay to. It's
that
okay
person.
to cry. It's
Yeah.
okay to have feelings. We've been taught otherwise, but
Hmm.
we've been characterized by the media in such a negative way that those types of ideas about us have perpetuated how some have acted. But I'm telling you, there's a new man. There's a 21st century man who's rising up, who's changing all of that, who's
Yes.
bringing, who's bringing it, bringing the love, the dedication, the purpose, and the commitment. And
Hmm.
that's the new 21st century man. We're not going with that old stuff, that machismo. They did a they did a study called the man box, where they looked at guys from United States, Mexico, and the UK. And some men are caught up in that machismo. I'm tough. I'm
Hmm.
strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're not. When your heart breaks down, when your blood pressure goes, no, you're not. So take care of yourself. Know who you are. Be that loving father to your children and family. That's what's important. The rest is a facade. It's just a facade. But
Yeah.
it takes a real man to know that.
Oh, man, I love it. What we got a few minutes left. What did we not talk about that you wanted to make sure that you covered?
Well, I wanted to give you this poem.
Okay,
I
let's
want
do
to
that.
give you this poem.
Let's
You
end with the
ready?
poem. I love it.
God took the strength of a mountain, the majesty of a tree, the warmth of a summer sun, the calm of a quiet sea, the generous soul of nature, the comforting arm of night, the wisdom of the ages, the power of the eagle's flight, the joy of a morning in spring, the faith of a mustard seed, the patience of eternity, the depth of a family need. Then God combined these qualities when there was nothing more to add. He knew his masterpiece was complete, and so he called it Dad.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much
It's
for
my,
sharing that with us.
this
um,
ain't our last time. I'm
no,
trying to
we're
invite
going to
you
have
out.
so many more conversations, and
Yes, sir.
I thank you and I appreciate all that you're doing for men. I know we're going to put your contact information in the comments on this video so people can get to your website, so they can get to and what I would say, if you are a dad who is just feeling that you're not enough, please contact us, because Dr. Franklin said, if you brought your kid a dandelion, they're happy because it came from dad. And so you are enough, but let us help equip you with the tools so you can be even a better dad. I can be a better dad. Dr. Franklin can be a better dad. I can be a better grandpa if I have all the tools that are available to me, and I see other people are doing it and I have great examples with great ideas. We're just going to perpetuate what it means to be a dad. So thank you, Dr. Franklin, for being on. This is not our last conversation. We're going to come back. We're going to
Let me
probably
give
do
you
some
this
training.
number.
Go ahead.
Let me please give you this number. It's called
Absolutely.
Parent Help. This is
Okay.
one of our national. If a father has problems, dads or moms, parenting apart, problems with custody, support, visitation, call this number, Parent Help, 1-800 716 3468. They're one of our partners.
Mm.
They will help you wherever you are. They will help you.
Oh, I love
Thank
it.
you.
1-800
The
716
great work.
3468. Make
That's
sure
it.
you call that number. Please, please do not let it, do not let, if you're watching this now and you're knowing that you got a situation,
Need
do
help.
not let the sun go down tonight without calling that number. Again, thank
Come
you
on.
for being on. Thank you guys for subscribing. There are so many good lessons. You know, Dwayne Meeks was one of the folks that I've done a podcast with. So it's just amazing that
Yes.
we're talking to uh, young men, middle-aged men, older men, seniors about what it's like to be a black man in America and how to be successful. We're giving you
Come
those
on.
examples that sometimes we need. I know sometimes I need to just see one other
Come on.
person that has been a good dad, or one other person who has been a good employer, one other person who is just doing it right. Not in every area, because sometimes we make mistakes. Again, Dr. Franklin, thank you for being on. We look forward to talking
Thank
to
you
you on
for
the next one.
having
You
me
guys
on.
have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day. Don't forget your God's greatest gift. He wants to love you if you allow him to. We'll talk to you on the next
Come.
one.
Thank you. Thank you, Dwayne Meeks, too.